Welcome everyone, this is Pineleaf Needles and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin.
Hi!
And Cinders.
Hello.
Hello everyone. I guess Arendis and Senswinda decided there wasn't enough news for them to come on?
I don't know about Arendis, but Sanswinda is working.
On Labor Day weekend. Cracking the whip at the library.
Right.
Then let's head into the LOTRO Beacon, where it seems like someone's standing in a field. Is this the Farmer's Fair stuff?
It does look like it
you
could
haven't
be
been
a
doing it
mushroom
either.
field. The one that you have to go looking for mushrooms in Farmer Maggot's fields.
Okay.
But I've only sort of been doing it because I've been busy.
Alright. Then let's head into the community spotlight, and there will be a Gondaman Rock Night on Saturday, September 8th, that's next week, and Sunday, September 9th on Belegier.
So are they playing rock music, or are they admiring rocks in Gondaman?
Could be both. Dwarfs.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's both.
Awesome.
Right. Lena Willowwood would be hosting Bard's Day 2018 on September 2nd at the Ivy Bush Inn in Laurelin, and
That's tomorrow.
if you're listening live, that's tomorrow. If you're not listening live, then you're probably a little late for that. And have you been enjoying the Farmer's Fair? You could watch Fibro Jedi's guide and learn about the different things that you could do at the event. DNCO du Millennium has compiled all the housing decorations that you can get during the Farmer's Fair.
Hopefully this is updated with the new stuff, because the last time I checked it wasn't.
And what is the new stuff?
I don't remember. I remember I saw the post of somebody took a screenshot of what exactly was available, and so I went to D & Company looking to see if I could find the visuals, and they didn't have the new stuff yet.
Let's see. The latest stuff that they have is a decorative oven.
I still want an oven that can actually be used indoors and isn't just decorative. Because really, cooking outside, especially in the cold.
Yeah, there is some. So that's not exactly appealing. That's right.
Can you not put the crafting stations indoors?
Not that I've seen. In theory, you would think you could, but I think they're yard items.
In which case, you could only put them in the larger Gondorian houses.
I haven't really looked.
I guess that is something that we'll need to check at some point. Then let's head to the Kin Hall. Mirage is a level 75 capped rating kinship on Arkenstone. They are a group of serious players from all different rating backgrounds looking to tackle challenging content while enjoying some Rise of Isengard expansion nostalgia. Some notable kinship features include all Isengard instance cluster instances at TC2, including a 6-player clear of Lightning Acid / Saruman, Ostenoth Wings TC2, Dome of Stars TC2, Ruin City / Sunken Labyrinth TC2, and many, many others. If you're interested in joining along for these endeavors, please message Hotfix-1 QPO or Exploited.
So, Pineleaf, that's actually T2C. That means Tier 2 Challenge, not TC2.
Oh.
TC2 is backwards.
Well, that's going to happen inevitably. So
I had to check the beacon to make sure it was actually listed right in the beacon, and you weren't just reading it backwards.
It's one of those nights, apparently. Let's head into our weekly comment. After a long day of Farmer's Fair activities, you decide to relax by fishing in the lake close by. You cast your fishing lure into the water and let it sit there for a few minutes. Before long, you start to feel a tug of the line. You wheel your catch in, and there attached to the hook is a
dragon's bone. Surprise! I know, impossible in the Shire, but
bunch of weeds.
A bunch of weeds. Yes, I think that's probably what's. I remember that time a couple weeks ago. Now it wasn't in the Shire; it was in Lake Town, where I think I caught weeds, old glove, weeds, old glove, weeds, old boot, weeds.
Yep.
Well, in Lake Town, I can see that because, we've talked about the outhouses.
Yeah.
So, no surprise there.
That was fun fishing with Pine Leaf that evening, though.
Yeah, I believe Ariandis was catching all sorts of fish, and I'm going, weeds.
It was not Ariandis, it was me, and I caught all kinds of fish,
sorry.
And then Pine Leaf quit.
All right. Well, that was a bit of a problem. Let's head into the fan site news. You could watch Looney Den in the Troshaws for part 7 of A Trip to the Troshaws in episode 45. And you could watch Druid's Fire do some crafting. I'm sure that's really exciting. And LOTRO, the Balville edition. Balville edition? And you could watch Mythgard in Middle-earth with the Tolkien Professor, and Andan continues his adventures in Mordor, and Riel Nuil in part 12 of her Let's Play LOTRO Mordor series. And in the news, we have our usual quarter rings on Fridays, and there are currently accepting applications for the Palantir Private Preview Program.
What is that?
That is essentially, you've heard of Bulwer, right?
Yes.
All right. This is pre-Bulwer. So if you can think of Bulwer is beta, then Palantir is alpha.
Okay.
And that's limited. So while Bulwer is, except during major expansions, Bulwer is open to anyone. The Palantir program, you have to put in an application being accepted and all that stuff, because this is the early phase and they don't want to have 7,000 people yelling different things all at the same time while they're getting to the early phases of their development.
That makes sense.
And in our screenshot of the week, Crazy Pants of Landrival took this week's screenshot of the week, and it looks like a hen.
It's a chicken.
In Rivendell.
Yep. So, chickens in Rivendell. So that concludes our beacon for this week. So let's go and find out what is on sale.
The weekly coupon gets you a simple Rallyhorn ×1 with coupon code Rallyhorn now through September 6th, and 20% off select expansions and expansion quests. They say select because Mordor is actually not part of the sale. Enhanced XP supply and Hornburg token, skirmishes and instances, and the 100% mark acquisition boosts. Also, double bonus points in the LOTRO store now through September 9th.
All right. Then let's head into our new player question. And Cinders, what's your question this week?
So my question this week is actually Farmer's Fair related. I was fishing again.
Uh-oh.
And while fishing at the Farmer's Fair, I kept getting the message, "You cannot take that." Is it an error or a game mechanic? And what does it mean exactly?
Well, it certainly didn't mean you got weeds.
No, I had a stat going because I'm still trying to figure out how many can actually stack. And I got one the entire time I was fishing.
You must know how to throw that hook.
Apparently.
So that message basically means that you're fishing up something that you fished up before. So you were probably on the quest to fish up somebody's belongings that they somehow lost in the lake completely by accident. They have no idea how that happened.
Yeah, that might
it wasn't
have been
at
what I
all
was
because
doing.
They dropped stuff and were a clumsy hobbit.
What?
I thought perhaps they'd had too much ale.
That's entirely possible, but I really think that they were just really clumsy.
I just love that she lost the list of lost things in the same place
That
as all
cracks
the
me
lost
up every
things.
time. Yeah. So you don't even have the whole list because the list is also in the lake. Yeah, so there's a select loot table that you fish from. And when you catch one of the things on the loot table, it doesn't actually remove it as a possibility. So it's not like where you fish up one of these things and then it reduces your chances of fishing it up again. No, you can still fish up the thing. But since you've already fished it up, you can't have more than one. So you get that weird error message that says you cannot take that.
Well, I'm glad my game wasn't broken.
It's not an error message that you see come up very often. You used to see it more in the days before auto loot, when you used to have to go loot mobs manually on the landscape. You can still see it if you don't have auto loot turned on and all of the stuff goes to a bag that you then have to empty later. Because if you take one of these unique things out of your bag and then try to take another of these unique things out of the bag, it will give you that same error message. You cannot take that.
Yeah, so the most likely place actually, I don't think there are any unique items in Wildermore, because I think in Wildermore they still haven't gotten around to make those mobs have the new system yet. Let's head into our site news, where we have another wallpaper from the Antipodean writer. Stanza 3 on the wallpaper here. On the run ring. 9 rings for kings of men, soon doomed to die. Numenorians black, fast ensnared by the one ring. Down centuries as ring raids willingly, serving none but the will of their master, the Dark King of the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. So
that's actually a really cool wallpaper, because it has like faces of men above the Nazgul.
Yeah.
Although I believe, according to lore, only 2 of them we know for sure were Numenorians.
Yeah, that's the thing, because some of them were from other kingdoms in Middle-earth. So we'll have to call it poetic license, which is certainly not all that unusual.
They could have been like most royalty and all been essentially related by the time that happened, too.
Well, Numenorians usually didn't mix with non-Numenorians all that much. Especially
no, that's why the line of Gondor is such a scandal, because it's all muddied.
Well, yeah, right. Because Gondor is a bit muddied there, and it became a scandal because of that. So you could say that, yeah. Let's then head into our week in LOTRO. And Terry Adrin, what were you up to?
Let's see. Land of Alteri finally finished the Lay of Rust and Rhyme. Yay! Thursday actually ended up being a not busy day for me, so we were able to get started earlier than the last couple of weeks. and we sat down and we did the battle, and I was like, you know what, let's just finish it out. So we finished it out, and I'm super excited for the new update because basically the Lay of Rust and Rhyme tells you that you're going to go into the Grey Mountains and see dwarf keeps and stuff in the Grey Mountains, and they're really, really cool. So I'm super excited. Well-Adjusted Killing Machine has made it to level 30. I used the last bit of time Sunday night taking advantage of the VIP weekend to get him up to level 30, so he's back to doing epic questing in the Lowlands. He's in Volume 1, Book 2. He's made it to Radagast and is killing off whites and stuff, and, being an awesome champion in the Lowlands. And then yesterday I decided I wanted a light day and wanted some anonymity, so I made a High Elf Runekeeper on Gladden because A, not all of my character slots are filled on Gladden, and B, not all of my character slots are full on Gladden. So, yeah. And so it's, I don't have a naming scheme, so my characters wind up being more or less anonymous anyway, as long as I haven't affiliated them with a guild or told people who they are, etc., etc. So I was running around Kellendim on my brand new High Elf Runekeeper, and just had run by the crafting area because I had to turn in a quest and was going by went down the stairs to turn in something else, and all of a sudden I had a piece of mail, and I opened it up, and it was a crafted necklace from a random player. It was like no strings attached, just here, have a piece of jewelry, which I thought was super, super nice. And I sent back a thank you in the mail. It's just one of the really awesome things about the community. It's just you see a random person, you help random person out. It's awesome. And the other thing I did Thursday after we finished out the Lay of Rust and Rhyme was Pineleaf and Sands and I ran around on Lobby characters. So I brought Sparebear, the OP Furball, and Pineleaf was on an OP Dwarf Mini, and Sands was on an OP Hobbit Hunter. Surprise, surprise. So we were on three of the most OP classes in the game, and we did the epic instance of Othringroth at levels 16 and 17. And we just slaughtered everything. It was the most fun. It was the most fun thing. Pineleaf's going in as his dwarf mini, just yelling at stuff, and it melts. Sands and I are basically just there so his dwarf looks good. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. I don't know how much play those characters are going to get, because probably next week we'll wind up picking up our characters that are in Moria. I just wasn't in the mood to run mirror halls after having finished out the Lay of Rust and Rhyme. There's only so much epic I can do in a night. So Cinders, how was your week?
Well, my week was rather dull since it was the first week back at school with kids. So I've been quite busy and very tired when I got home. But last Sunday, when girls were together, we went riddling in Evendim, which is totally perfect for burglars. And we found several chests and broke a few keys in the process, but it had a lot of fun. Then yesterday evening, I was able to get some playing done with the Academy on Arkenstone, and so my champion picked up a couple of levels, and then she discovered that the corpses she'd so carefully buried in the intro area during the prologue, they were unburied, and she was quite disappointed in that. And then after that, Sanswinda and I started 2 new hunters on Arkenstone with the goal of leveling them quickly, so that I would have free characters at a higher level for when I come in late to Academy runs, so that I'd be able to have a chance to at least join up and run around and kill things with them. But we are intentionally avoiding the epic, with the exception of doing what you need to in Angmar to be able to get past the Watching Stones. Pineleaf, how was your week?
I'll begin with my mid-range warden on Glen, where I reached the Haunted Inn and struck against that. Actually, that was my lore master that did it. Never mind. Why in the Which character? No, it is my mid-range. It's my mid-range warden on Glenn. Yes, my mid-range warden on Glenn. Yes, who reached a haunted inn and struck against Dananglor and trying to see. And of course, that meant that the next quest I had was to look for those crazy dwarves, and I just didn't get into the mood of going in looking for those dwarves. So therefore, on my burglar, I delivered some drinks to some dwarves for a premature celebration of their victory in the 21st Hall. And then on my warden, I went into my main warden. I went into Trouble in Tuckborough. I was running that skirmish, and of course you run into the courtyard. And whenever I reach the courtyard, since I don't do things crazy like pulling the entire courtyard, as some people love to do.
What?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Pilot.
No clue how that might happen.
Yeah, so therefore I try to pull only one of the two lieutenants instead of both of them. So I'm trying to get into a position. I see a likely trash mob. Usually what I do is I try to pull a trash mob to me. I pull that trash mob, and that pulls the lieutenant, and I go and fight there. So I do this. I pick a trash mob, I throw it at her, and hoping that trash mob plus the near lieutenant will come, and I will fight them. And then can probably have a couple extra mobs also there. But in other words, about half the courtyard or something like that is what I'm expecting. I go and do this, and I do not pull the near lieutenant. I pull the far lieutenant only.
Oops.
And that is the first time in all the times I've ever run Trouble. I've had times where I pulled both of them. I have had plenty of times where I've pulled only the near ones. This is the first time I recall ever pulling only the far. Actually, it's not too much of an oops because it's still only one of the two lieutenants.
Well, I just can't believe it didn't trigger the other lieutenant as it ran past.
Yeah, I think that running past does not trigger them. What triggers them is at the time a mob gets triggered, they check to see is there anyone else nearby that can be triggered. So once a mob is triggered, that mob could have stopped right next to the other lieutenant, and I could have thrown javelins at that lieutenant in order to kill it or something like, and the other lieutenant would not notice it because the aggro mechanics just don't care about that. They only care is what is in the area or what's linked to it at the time it is triggered. And of course, if I wouldn't fight it in melee, obviously I would have been in range to trigger it when it's on.
Yeah.
So, yes, running by... Yeah, actually, I think he ran in the back direction anyway, so didn't even run by the other lieutenant in any case. But that was a rather strange thing because I didn't think that unless you snuck around and tried everything in the world to avoid going by the near lieutenant, I thought there was no way you could pull the far one without pulling the near one. And I was at the entrance, so I certainly not like I went around or anything like that. So that was a little interesting thing to happen there. So it worked out in the end since I did have an archer with me, so it means I didn't have to worry about. I suspect that if I had a warrior or something like that, would charged in, and the other lieutenant would have noticed. But
yeah.
Well, now I'm curious if you were to trigger the last one, that second one, without the first one, if it would trigger the final boss fight, or if you have to clear the whole area anyway.
Oh no, you have to clear out the whole
courtyard.
You have to clear the whole area before you take the flag, and taking the flag is what triggers the boss fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if it was a specific sequence.
Oh, nope. No. You could do them in any order you want.
It might be worth skirmishing to find out how many different ways I can do that.
Well, I'm sure that if you try to find all the permutations, you'll have several opportunities to find out if you can handle both at the same time. I remember one time I accidentally pulled two zealots of pain at the same time. And
ouch.
Say that must have hurt.
Yeah, in fact, I can't remember whether it was my Trouble in Tuckborough guide or my Lieutenant's guide, where I actually have the screenshot of that fighting two zealots at the same time. And I think I was something like down to 5% morale or something like that as a result of that before I managed to get my morale back up. Whew. We currently have 21 supporters on Patreon, and if you'd like to join this illustrious array of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations guide where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast your choice, or be guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. And currently, Draculetta is sorting through several suggestions for new rewards, so expect a new set of rewards to be announced anytime soon. We did not receive any emails this week, but if you'd like to send us one, you can send it to podcast@lotroplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at the Players Alliance at Players Ally, Lotro Players at Lotro Players, Arendis at Arendis, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles, Sanswinda at Sanswinda, and Terry Adwin at Terry Adwin.
Oh, Pine. Sorry to interrupt, but before we end the show, we have to talk about the other thing. We have to tease it somehow. New secret project.
Oh, the new secret project. Very well.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I would also say you could also follow Cinders at Emeralina. Now, as for what Terry Adwin is talking about, what's in store?
So we might be working on a new secret project with Drac that, for those who watch Tales of the Free Folk, it's not going to be Tales of the Free Folk. But we are working on a new role-playing show that will be a recorded podcast sort of format thing. With the, Adventures in Middle-earth 5 edition, 5e D&D rules.
And for many of us, it's a brand new concept. At least 2 of us have not done this before.
3, because Arendis hasn't either.
3 of us have not done this before.
Yeah.
So it should be an interesting experience, and we will announce that when we have everything prepared. The Players Alliance has 4 shows. Every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. Every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News. And every other Thursday at 9:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have XP Quest. And on the first Tuesday of each month at 9:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Chromatic Bits. You can join us for our live shows at lotroplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Five Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.